Tonight, wildfires continue to ravage the city of Los Angeles. The two major fires, the Eaton and the Palisades fires, are still nowhere near being contained, with the Palisades fire at only 6% containment and the Eaton fire still at 0% containment. And fire crews are battling multiple other smaller fires all across Los Angeles, including yet another new brush fire, this one in West Hills on the far west side of the San Fernando Valley. That fire started just hours ago and has already grown to around 1,000 acres with 0% containment. Collectively, the fires have burned an area of more than 30,000 acres, more than twice the size of Manhattan, and forced more than 180,000 people to evacuate. As we enter the third day of these fires, we are just starting to get a rough, and I mean very rough, understanding of the scope of the destruction here. Officials are now estimating that more than 5,000 structures have been destroyed by the Palisades fire alone. That is the fire in and around the neighborhood of Pacific Palisades, which is on the west side of L.A. On the east side of the city, officials say the Eaton fire, which is the fire in and around the neighborhood of Altadena, officials say that that fire alone has destroyed another 4,000 to 5,000 structures. Now, I should say that when officials use the term structures, that could refer to anything from homes to garages or even burned cars. Right now, the city's manpower is still primarily focused on fighting these fires and evacuating the people in the way of the fires. So these are just preliminary counts. And officials warn that because these counts are done via helicopter and satellite, they are not an exact science. That said, we have images, and they do not look good. This is a satellite photo from before the fire. It's an aerial view of homes along the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu. This was that same stretch of road yesterday, with home after home just completely gone. This is a satellite photo of what the neighborhood of Altadena looked like before the fire. You can see it's a relatively dense neighborhood, lots of homes, lots of businesses. Here's that same neighborhood last night. This is an infrared satellite image, which is why the mountains appear blue, but the orange and red you see there is fire. Here's that same neighborhood, but zoomed out a bit more. It's just an unbelievable amount of it on fire. Again, all the numbers we are getting from officials about the scope of the damage are preliminary numbers, and that means they are very likely to change. In the past 24 hours, the financial firm J.P. Morgan doubled its estimate of the total economic losses expected from these fires. The estimate is now nearly $50 billion. But again, these are all just early estimates. Los Angeles is still focused on firefighting and evacuations to begin a proper accounting of just how much damage has been done. And unfortunately, property damage is just one of the things we truly do not know the full scope of yet. MSNBC host, my colleague and friend Katie Tur. She's in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood of Los Angeles, where she grew up. Katie, you've been talking so beautifully, and I've found it really moving, talking about what this experience has been like for you, standing in the ashes of your childhood memories in a lot of ways. Can you just, for people who haven't heard it, and even for people who have, what's it been like the last 24 hours?
It's been really weird. It's been so weird, Alex. When this story broke a couple days ago, I looked at the images and I thought, oh my God, this is going to be bad. Because, you know, I grew up, there were fires in Malibu, there were fires all over Los Angeles. My parents were news reporters, they had a helicopter. I literally grew up in the skies over brush fires and Malibu fires. I just have such vivid memories of it. And they would get close to the Palisades. I'd watch the ridgeline from my grandmother's house in the Highlands. There was one in particular that threatened that ridgeline, threatened to go through the valley and get into the Highlands. It never did. And we always felt so lucky that it never did. And this time we were not lucky at all. That fire, which started in the Highlands, just ended up ripping through everything. And you would say to yourself, well, there's no way, even if there was a fire in the Palisades, it would get the homes in the hills. It wouldn't go down to the flat areas like the Alphabet Streets. And if you look at some aerials of the Alphabet Streets today, or even just from a higher viewing point, which we can do from here, even though it's dark so you can't see it now, all of the streets are decimated. And they're called Alphabet Streets because they go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I lived on Embry, and you just look at the line of streets and they're just gone, you know, and it's so weird rolling up to it because I went to the first home we lived in here, and I came and I just was flooded with these memories that I haven't considered in decades. Memories of carving a pumpkin with my friends, memories of the first time I rode a bike. I was great at riding the bike. I was not great at stopping the bike. I flew off the neighbor's front lawn and off the little ledge they had. I learned how to brake after that. I remember hiding from my parents because I was mad that they wouldn't give me Matchbox cars. They called the police and the fire department. There was an APB bulletin out. Look for this small girl. I was just hiding. I was just literally hiding in the yard behind something. They couldn't find me. I was a very stubborn kid. And just seeing that and trying to come to terms with the vivid memories I have. The first kiss I had on the Alphabet Streets with a boy named Johnny. We knocked teeth. These vivid memories I have compared to what I'm seeing now where just there's nothing familiar about it. I couldn't even identify. I had a hard time identifying the homes of my best friends up the street, 6 doors down. I couldn't figure out which one it was. It's so unfamiliar that I think there's a distance. I don't think it's totally hit me yet what has happened because I don't recognize anything. It doesn't look like my home. There's some fires up above me here. We moved around a lot. We lived in a number of houses here we rented, and I lived in a house right below those fires. It's completely gone. And now there's hot spots. They're still really worried about those hot spots because the wind is going to pick up again, and there are some homes up there, just a couple of them that haven't burned. And they're worried about it crossing the ridge over into the other parts of the Palisades that have been able to stay safe from this, like the Riviera, and then into Brentwood, and then getting to the 405. And they're just concerned that it could still be out of control. I will tell you, there were super scoopers up. There's aerial firefighting happening all afternoon. It was and all morning. It was such a blessed sight, such a relief, because they can impact the flames in a way that a single firefighter or even a team of firefighters cannot. But they're supposed to be able to operate at night. I haven't seen them in hours and hours. So I wonder what's happening. I heard it was maintenance, but who knows? It's weird, Alex. Yeah. It's really weird. And these for me are memories. There are so many thousands of people, and Gotti's right. I think the estimate is wrong. It's got to be low. There are so many thousands of people that are going to be coming back to this, and it's not in their memories, it's their life. It's the life they are living right now. And the schools are closed, not closed, they're destroyed. So even if you wanted to come back, you would have nowhere to send your kids. The grocery store is gone. The churches, the synagogues, gone. It's just really a terribly depressing scene. It looks apocalyptic. It's unfathomable the amount of damage in this one town.
Yeah, memory is so linked to place. But of course, as you point out, this isn't the past for a lot of people. This is the present. And the question of how to rebuild, when to rebuild, how to rebuild, if you can rebuild, is just not even answerable at this moment. It is, I think when big natural disasters happen, it's very rare that we have someone who can speak so keenly to the emotional weight of the moment. And it's so valuable to all of us here inside the building and out to have you there, as hard as it is. It's really moving to hear you talk.
Can I add
specifically? Yeah, please.
One more. Yeah, I think listen, I think it's good to have people who know the communities that they're covering. And Jacob Soboroff grew up here too, and he's been speaking so eloquently about this as well. These communities are easy to characterize from afar. It's easy to say, oh, this is a neighborhood full of rich celebrities. They'll be fine. It's not just that. There are a whole lot of middle-class folks who've lived here for generations. There's a whole lot of history here that you can't rebuild. You can't just put a shiny veneer on, spend a lot of money, and make it look all fancy and Tony again. There's real worry that this place is going to change even more than it has over the past few decades. Even for me, coming back here before this all burned down, it had changed a lot. It was a new social strata that had taken over. And there's a worry that's going to continue, that there will be people who, lived here because they lived here for a long time, who won't be able to continue living here, won't be able to have the next generation take over a home and send their kids to the lovely schools that will be rebuilt here, the public and private schools that will be rebuilt here. And I hope that there are, in New York we have zoning regulations. You can only build this certain type of home in this certain type of place. You got to hope that something like that happens out here. I'm not aware of the particulars of the zoning, but I would hope that down in the Alphabet Streets, you wouldn't be able to take over multiple lots and just build these big style homes like we see in a lot of the other places in the Palisades. The Alphabet Streets they were small lots, small single family homes. And it was a beautiful place to grow up. You'd ride your bike around the neighborhood. You felt safe. The streets were small. You weren't worried about traffic. You could play ball in the street. And it's something that I hope that the town comes together and says to themselves, we need to keep that. We need to preserve it. We need to not give way to
something else.
Some of the other instincts. Yeah.
Katy Tur, my friend, I am sending you a virtual hug and a real hug when you get back. Thank you for doing the show tonight.
Thanks.
Thank you for being there for all of us. Stay safe.
Thanks for having me.